Thank you, Madam Chancellor. Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Toop, and I have the honour to serve as President and Vice-Chancellor of the University of British Columbia. Every year at Congregation, UBC bestows honorary degrees upon individuals who, in the opinion of the university community, have fit the criteria of excellence and eminence in their chosen field. James Clifford is one of those individuals, and I invite him now to step forward to receive his honorary degree. Madam Chancellor, James Clifford is an American historian of anthropology and professor emeritus in the History of Consciousness Department at the University of California, Santa Cruz. He obtained his master's degree from Stanford and his PhD from Harvard, and is considered one of the most original, influential, and productively controversial scholars working in anthropology today. Upon completion of his doctoral studies in 1978, Dr. Clifford was among the first faculty appointed to the History of Consciousness Department PhD program, where he served as chair from 2004 to 2007. The department continues to be an intellectual center for innovative, interdisciplinary, and critical scholarship in the United States and abroad, due in large part to his influence. He's published and lectured extensively on a variety of anthropological topics related to Indigenous people and questions of cross-cultural representation. His recent work focuses on decolonization in the Pacific region and the emergence of contemporary Indigenous cultural politics. His interest in these subjects resulted in a collegial association with the UBC Museum of Anthropology, and his current service as a member of the museum's advisory board. His widely cited and translated books have sparked critical debate in a number of disciplines, including literature, art history and visual studies, and cultural anthropology. He's been on the editorial boards of many of the leading journals and has been a visiting professor at l'École des Hautes Études en Sciences Sociales, Paris, University College, London, and Yale University. Madam Chancellor, in recognition of his prodigious scholarly work and influence, and for his generous service to this university, I ask you to confer the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa upon James Clifford.
By authority of the Senate of this university, I confer upon you, James Clifford, the title and degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
I'm now delighted to call upon Dr. Clifford to say a few words.
Thank you very much. A few words meant not more than 5 minutes. I'm honored to be here, and I thank UBC for this recognition. And I particularly thank the Museum of Anthropology, also MOA, whose pioneering tradition and brilliant staff have long been an inspiration for me. I recognize the Musqueam Nation, on whose unceded land the museum and the university stand. Yesterday at UBC's First Nations Longhouse, I stood with two other honorary degree recipients, the devoted supporter of Northwest Coast art, Michael O'Dane, and the great Tlingit master carver, Dempsey Bob. We heard songs in several Aboriginal languages, and the multi-tribal Git Hayet's dance group circled around us. Eagle down feathers were scattered on our heads. Location matters. This could not have happened at my university in California. A friend who was there told me that at Dempsey Bob's degree, conferred earlier that day, he had told a story that made people laugh. Tell a joke, she advised me. A joke. I know a lot of jokes, but they wouldn't work here. So, with the help perhaps of those eagle feathers in my hair, last night I dreamed up a little story that may help make my point today. Here's the story. A Texas rancher is traveling as a tourist in the south of France. He stops his car at a picturesque site where an old peasant farmer is leaning on a stone wall. He tries to start a conversation, doesn't go too well, a lot of monosyllables, until he hits on the right formula. He says, "You know, this land here sure is pretty." And then the peasant farmer, touched to his core, puffs up a bit and says, "Oui, monsieur, from that cypress tree over there to the cedar tree over there, all that is my land." And the Texan says, "Well, partner, that's just great. But let me tell you about my ranch. On my spread, I get up in the morning, I get in my car, I drive all day long, I still don't get to the other side." The peasant looks at him and says, "Oh, yes, I know. I had a car like that once myself." Good. Well, size matters, perspective matters, so does scale. Scale matters. We too easily forget this in a world that seems to be rushing headlong toward interconnection and uniformity, so-called globalization. Anthropology, to pick just one of the disciplines that's gathered here today, has long been good at reminding us that things are more complicated than that. The local and the global, the big and the small, the national and the indigenous, humans, landscapes, and other creatures are related to each other in very specific ways. We need to slow down, look, and listen patiently. In my own work, I've listened and learned from the Aboriginal, First Nations, Native societies all over the world who didn't disappear, as so many confidently predicted, who survived, struggled, changed. We weren't all traveling down the same road in a modern world, after all. So we need analytic skills and historical knowledge that can help us understand the complexity of different historical paths, cultures, languages. I looked at the fields of study represented by the majors that you all have chosen: ancient cultures, religion and ethnicity, anthropology, archaeology, classics, geography, Germanic studies, history, literature, and the arts, just to name some of them. And I congratulate you on your choice, because you are part of the resistance. Resistance to the powers and logics of simplification that increasingly dominate our public discourse and even our universities. Logics of quantification: if you can't count it, it doesn't count. Logics of narrow economic rationality. In California, we keep hearing, what good is German literature or anthropology for the economy of the state of California? Logics of environmental exploitation, of short-sighted political calculation. Not so fast, we need to be saying. What else matters? Thank you.